Well, hello. Welcome to Orchid Bloom's podcast. Welcome back, bloomers. I am your host, Orchid Brown, with Orchid Bloom's podcast. You can find me on TikTok and Blue Skies at Orchid Eye Brown. This is the final episode for this month because I will be taking a month off before I begin the summer session, which begins in June, with 2 episodes a month. Summertime, I need to relax. I need to get my topics on point, hopefully something with a lot of depth, meaningful conversations with each and every one of you. And so sometimes I need to just kind of take a break to decompress and also review all of the podcast episodes that I have produced and what direction I would like to take going forward. Now, I wanted to end on something that matters, not something trendy, not something that sounds good, but something that if you really sit with it, can actually change the way you move through your life. I hope that this conversation today will be helpful to a lot of you. Today, we're talking about wisdom. I have focused a lot of the previous podcast episode for this year discussing discernment, and one of the reasons why a majority of the podcast episodes that I had published on discernment was so important is because one episode will not be able to help many people understand discernment. It's just not possible. So it was necessary to dedicate a few of the podcast episode for the beginning of this year to discussing discernment and understanding that discernment is protection in all areas of your life. Most people think they understand wisdom, but they don't recognize it in real life, which is the problem. Because if you can't or don't recognize it, you can't apply it. If you can't apply it, you will keep repeating the same patterns, calling it something else. I used to think that wisdom was something you gain over time. You get older, you go through things, and then eventually you become wiser. But I've seen people grow old and not grow wiser. Very sad. I've seen people go through the same situations with different faces, different names, but the same outcome. So clearly, time is not the teacher, and experience alone is not enough. So what is wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to apply knowledge, experience, and deep understanding to make sound, insightful decisions that promote long-term well-being for oneself and the common good. It transcends mere intelligence or information, involving emotional regulation, humility, and the ability to navigate complex, uncertain situations. Now, what are these key components so that we can break it down a little bit and truly understand wisdom? First is application of knowledge, using experience and understanding to solve problems and guide actions rather than just accumulating facts. The next one is balance, balancing interpersonal, and institutional interest to achieve a positive outcome, often designed by the balance theory of wisdom. The next on the list, the third on the list, is perspective and insight, the ability to see beneath the surface, understanding difficult contexts and the limitations of one's own knowledge. The fourth on the list would be virtue and ethics, often combining intelligence with ethical, altruistic, and common good goals. The last on the list is emotional regulation, fostering self-awareness and calmness. For example, meekness or self-controlled strength in high stress situations. Wisdom is not intelligence. Wisdom is not age. Wisdom is not how much you've been through. Because if that was true, a lot of people would be in a very different place right now. Wisdom is not what you know. It's what you do with what you know. A lot of people know better. They just don't do better. Not because they don't want to or because doing better requires something they're not ready to give. They genuinely just don't want to do better. They don't. As much as they'd like to say that they want to, and they look at their past and their future and they go, I'm going to do better today. No, they just don't want to. Now, I mentioned requirements. What is required for wisdom, or at least to do better? The first on the list is discipline. Second is accountability. Letting go is the third. Fourth is walking away. And final, saying no. Wisdom is not hidden from you. It shows up consistently. But the truth is, you don't lack wisdom. You keep ignoring it. You keep confusing it, or you keep overriding it. I want to break something down. People use these words interchangeably, and that creates confusion. They always say wisdom, this is discernment, this is intuition, but a lot of people don't really even understand what those three damn words mean. They don't. Discernment is your ability to see clearly. It's when something doesn't feel right and you can identify why. Discernment. It's when you recognize patterns. It's when you look at a situation and say, this is not what it looks like. Discernment is clarity. Intuition is different. Intuition is that internal signal. It's quick, it's subtle. Sometimes it doesn't come with full explanation. It's that feeling, that nudge, that pause, that moment where something inside of you says, pay attention. That's intuition. Now, here's the part people get wrong. They think intuition is always right. It's not. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes it's projection. But intuition is rarely random. It's pulling from something. A lot of people don't talk about how intuition can feel a lot similar to a lot of emotions that we do feel, like fear. And when we talk about trauma, it's so overwhelming. And when it comes to projection, you feel like it's definite, right? Those are not intuition. And I feel for myself, what I've done over the years is that whenever I feel a feeling, such as fear, because keep in mind, when I start feeling a feeling, I'm not really sure what feeling I'm feeling in that moment. I keep saying I'm feeling. I'm sure I'm losing you here, but I'm just calling it a feeling. You get a feeling, but you cannot identify what it is. I find that I need to pause to figure out what that feeling that I'm feeling. Try not to confuse you here, but I feel like I'm confusing you here. So let's take it back again. You get a feeling, right? You get a feeling and you cannot identify what this feeling is. So I tend to pause and truly process what I'm feeling so that I can understand what I'm feeling. Did that nice and slow because I'm about to lose you. And sometimes for me, it's like I'm talking to myself. I'm having a discussion between me, myself, and I. And it's just the three of us there talking to each other about what I'm feeling internally, not outwards. I mean, if I'm at home, I may have a conversation with myself externally, but I'm alone. I'm allowed to do that in the privacy of my own home. But out in public, I would be having this discussion in my head like a normal person. Yeah? So I have to figure out what I'm feeling before I can make a move, before I can make a decision. Is it fear? Is it joy? Is it trauma? Is it a projection that I did not put on myself? And I also have to ask myself that question. Where did this feeling come from? Did I come up with this by myself, or did someone put that in my head through a conversation I just had? So now I have to replay the conversation I just had with the person previously. Did it come from a conversation I had today, or did it come from a conversation that I had yesterday? I like to pause and take the time to truly go over what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and I like to process through it. And once I process through it, I make a decision based on that. And that pulling feeling, that's pulling on something, I tend to follow it. Again, I'm not making any decisions. I'm following that pulling feeling that I'm having, and I really dig deep and I really go down into it and I sit in it and I meditate on it. And sometimes I won't even make a decision for a few days. I won't make a decision for a few days. I will even pray about it out loud so God can hear me and the Holy Spirit can show up and go, all right, what is your decision? And I'll make that decision. I will pray about that decision, and then I will do it. Understand, just because I'm getting this nudge doesn't necessarily mean that I should go forward with it immediately. Don't be impulsive. Taking that time to truly process and understand is wisdom. They all work together. Discernment, intuition, and wisdom. They all work together. Each step is a part of this process. I learned a long time ago in church. I think someone was on the stage. I can't remember which pastor he was. I think he came from somewhere in the States, maybe Texas. I'm not really sure, but he also owns an orphanage down there. He takes in a lot of kids that have been abandoned by their family. So it's a part of their church. And I remembered him going up on the stage. Don't ask me his name. He goes up on the stage and he's doing his sermon, and I'm listening, and I was getting bored a little bit, but then he popped up and he just said randomly out of nowhere that impulsive behavior, impulsive action is not of God. And I perked up. For some apparent reason, that's what caught me. Being impulsive is never wise. It falls nowhere under wisdom. Nowhere under wisdom. You will not hear a conversation of someone saying that this is wisdom. We're going to be impulsive today. Whoop, whoop. Never would you hear that. Never would you hear impulsive in the same conversation as intuition. Never would you hear impulsiveness as in the same conversation as discernment. No, these words do not scream impulsivity. I remembered hearing that sermon on a Sunday morning, and I'm telling you, for the rest of the week, I meditated on that word, because it did not jump out at me for no reason. Clearly, it's something that I needed to learn, that no impulsive action has ever led to wisdom, has never been associated with intuition, and impulsivity is not defined for discernment. It's just not. So I learned how to pause. I learned how to think things through. I learned a lot of things. And because of that lesson, I now move differently. Wisdom is what you do after you see it and feel it. Discernment sees it. Intuition feels it. Wisdom decides what to do about it. This is how most people break the chains. They see it, they feel it, and then they ignore it. They just act like it never happened. They'll eventually remember it later when it's too late, and then they'll go, "Oh my God, I did see this. Oh my God, I did feel this." But they didn't do anything about it. They ignored it. But it always comes too late because they ignored it. A lot of people are not lacking clarity. They are lacking discipline. You knew that situation wasn't right. You felt it. You saw the signs, but you stayed. And then later, you call it a lesson. Some things were not lessons. Some things were a choice, repeated. Every decision you make in life starts with a choice. Everything you do in life is a choice. This is why the last podcast episode I said, there is no such thing as mistakes. What do you mean this was a mistake? I even walked you through the entire process before it became a mistake. Which part of the process that you chose to take to become a cheater was the mistake? It wasn't a mistake. It was not a mistake. You knew exactly what you were doing. Every single thing is a choice. And you know, what's funny about that is that I remembered being in church again, and it was just a very weird, annoying day. And the pastor at the front of the church decided to dedicate an entire damn sermon just talking about husbands. You need to choose your wife. You need to choose your wife. You have difficulties, but you need to choose your wife. Always choosing your wife. That girl over there looks delectable, but you still need to choose your wife. And I remember just sitting there in the church wondering, what is going on? Again, I'm not married, so I don't know the struggles, right? I don't know the struggles. And I'm sitting there just looking around wondering how many cheating ass husbands are in this church that the pastor has to be on the front of the stage looking stressed, pressed, and depressed because he just keeps getting messages from gossipers in the church going, oh my God, this husband is cheating on this wife. This husband over there is cheating on this wife. He's thinking about cheating with that woman. And it was just crazy sitting there looking up going, Jesus, what is going on here? Today was not the day to come to church. But I thought it was really funny because, again, the choice, right? Choose. You choose. And even I was having a conversation, I think it was like 2 days ago, when I not 2 days ago, but prior to writing and recording the Cheaters podcast episode. And I remembered talking to this guy, and he said that, you know, the one thing he has learned is that it's really important who you choose to be your wife, who you choose to be your life partner. And I said, yes, it is quite important, because if you choose the right husband, if you choose the right wife, that can either make you great or that could ruin you. If you choose the wrong person, it could ruin you. And so that is wisdom. And so let me repeat myself. Discernment sees it. It doesn't matter how attractive that girl or guy is. It doesn't matter how the presentation of this job offer is being brought to you. Is you see it. You see all the things that you need to see. And then intuition, you feel it. You feel that this person is not being honest. You feel that this person is just wearing a mask. You feel like this job offer has something attached to it that is not to your benefit. You feel it. Intuition is saying, listen, bow out gracefully, girl. Bow out gracefully, sir. And then wisdom decides what to do about it. Now you have to open your mouth and make a choice. Are you going to choose this shiny, pretty guy or girl and build your life on it and hope and pray that you will survive and you will have a good life? Are you going to look at this shiny job offer that they're selling you, but they're not telling you the downsides of taking it because they need a stupid person to take it just to fill the position, and then they're just gonna fuck you over? You feel it. You feel it. You know you don't trust this person. You know you don't trust these people. And now you have to open your mouth and make a decision. Personally, like I said, you pause. You tell the people that are offering the job, I will think about it and get back to you. Giving you a few days to truly work over looking at the situation, looking at the pay, what is being offered, what could pop up during the meantime that you don't know about that could just come out of left field and completely break you in this position. You get to think about that. You meet a girl, you meet a guy, you like this person, you enjoy, you have fun with this person. Now you need to use your intuition and discernment combined to decide if this man or this woman truly aligns with where you're going, truly aligns with what you stand for. And again, actions speaks louder than words. They're saying that they're the perfect match because, again, the devil looks beautiful. Looks so beautiful. The devil knows how to make everything sound nice and silk like honey. And it tastes so good when it comes out of their mouths. But you have to figure out what you're aligned with, and does this person truly align with it? Yeah, take some time to make a decision before you make a choice. Wisdom. People like to say, I didn't know. But every time I hear that come out of people's mouth, my discernment says, yes, you did. You lying little. Anyways, but if you sit with it long enough, you did know. You just didn't want to accept it. We call impulse intuition. We just talked about this. I'm going too fast in my own podcast episode. We call avoidance peace. We call confusion complexity. We call repeated mistakes growth. And in doing that, we distance ourselves from wisdom because wisdom doesn't feel good. Wisdom is often inconvenient. It tells you to walk away when you don't want to. It tells you to stop when you're attached. It tells you the truth before you're ready to hear it. Wisdom is not abstract. It shows up in your daily decisions. Wisdom looks like recognizing a pattern and not needing to see it again to confirm it. Wisdom looks like walking away without needing closure, because closure are for people that don't know how to let go. Wisdom looks like saying no without any explanation on your part, of course. I said it a few podcast episodes back when I said, I noticed that people are running away from self-respect. Self-respect keeps chasing them down hard, and they just keep missing it. I feel like I need to rephrase that for this podcast episode. Wisdom keeps chasing a lot of people down, chasing them, hounding them like a dog, and they're the bone. And for some apparent reason, these people are so fast that they outrun wisdom. Outrun it. Wisdom cannot catch up. Loss of breath, don't understand what has lit a fire under these people's asses to make them run for dear life. It's almost as though if wisdom ever caught up to them, they would just die. They would just die. That is what I've been seeing. And honestly, it has been funny to watch, because who outruns something that's good for them? Who? So hard too. They're breaking out in sweat, the muscles on their body. They're disoriented. They can't think. By that time, they turn that corner. Like I said, it's like Pennywise is coming for them. Any evil character in any scary movie that chases people and chases kids, Jason, running for dear life, but not even Krueger could catch up to them. Not even Krueger, much less wisdom. We have to understand that what they're doing is not random. People run from wisdom because it removes excuses. Once you see clearly, once you understand the patterns, you cannot pretend anymore. Wisdom holds you accountable, not to other people, but to yourself. And that's harder. Now, it's not about what they did. It's about what you continue to allow. Wisdom will ask you questions like, why are you still here? Why are you tolerating it? Why are you repeating this? These questions require answers, Not explanations, not justification, answers. Older generation had experience. Not all experience was processed into wisdom, but some patterns were clearly repeated because of that. It was normalized and passed down. And an example I would give of this is at the shithole of a workplace that I worked at, I realized like a lot of older women glorified narcissists, especially narcissistic men. They just thought they were amazing. And in my mind, I kept thinking, you were clearly raised to think that this behavior or a man behaving this way makes them a good man, but it actually doesn't. It actually does not make them good men at all. But for some apparent reason, they just fed into it. They romanticized it. They even tried to push their daughters to want that lifestyle as well and want men like that. So it was really surprising that the education for the older generation just was not there. And even in their older generation where information is easy to get online, they could not access it. Or maybe they just don't care to look into it because those toxic behaviors for these women were just so romantic. Very odd. So I find a lot of the older generation just tend to push their daughters to want to be with a man like that. If you could bring someone toxic around your mom and they are like, oh my God, he's amazing. Actually, he's shit. But the parents, the mom, loves it. It's the type of guy she wish she had dated because her husband is just so boring now. You know what I mean? It's one of those. So I would watch this and I would listen to these older generation talk thinking, I expected a bit more wisdom. But for some older folks, it's just not there. It's really just not there. You'll hear things like, it's just how it is. That's what relationships look like. That's life. That's not always wisdom. Sometimes that's conditioning, like grooming. It sounds wrong, but that's kind of what it is. But I can't use the word grooming. I have to use conditioning. Now, the younger generation has access to information, endless information, but information is not wisdom. You can know everything and still apply nothing. Wisdom requires integration, not just consumption. Right now, we are in a space where people are learning quickly, but not reflecting deeply. And without reflection, there is no wisdom. It is now time to start asking, why do I keep overriding wisdom or running from it? Because it's there. It shows up when something doesn't sit right. It shows up when you recognize a pattern. It shows up when you pause before making a decision. That moment, that's where wisdom lives. But you have to choose it. Just like you got to choose your husband before you cheat, choose your wife before you cheat, choose your girlfriend, choose circumstances, make the decision not to take a promotion because you know it's going to be hell on earth. You have to choose it. You have to choose wisdom. And choosing it won't always feel powerful. Sometimes it will feel like loss. Sometimes it will feel like silence. Sometimes it will feel like walking away without an applause. But over time, it builds something, stability, clarity, peace that doesn't need validation. So as we close this episode, and as I take this break for the next month, I want you to sit with this. Wisdom is not something you're waiting to gain. It's something you're being asked to use. Use it. Every time something feels off, every time you see the patterns, every time you know better, before you do worse, just do better. Choose wisdom. That's your moment. Wisdom is largely cultivated through experiences, reflection, and learning over time. It requires analyzing personal experience to find patterns and using that information to improve future decisions. It is also characterized by an openness to other perspectives and a reduction in self preoccupation. Now, I hope this podcast episode is helpful and hopefully you will make better choices in the future. Let's aim and try to be better people. But on that note, I am ready to take a break. So thank you for joining me today on Orchid Bloom's podcast. Your support is appreciated. Take this time to subscribe, follow, rate, and leave a review on a podcast platform of your choice. Our social media pages are Orchid Bloom's YouTube channel, The Ambitious Obsession Network on Facebook, at The Ambitious Ops on Twitter, at The Ambitious Net on Instagram. If this episode resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, keep blooming. I hope you have a splendid day.